Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome again to our video demonstration. In this video, we're still going to continue our discussion regarding the employee form. As you can observe, our employee form is full packed with information and functionalities. This is always my way of designing a form. I always make it dynamic as much as possible. This is so we don't have to jump from one form to another if you want to update information or do a transaction. Anyway, let's proceed with our demonstration. Like what I've said last time, we are going to discuss the functionalities of this leave and attachment features. So first, let's talk about this request for leave button. We have a list box here that shows all types of leave forms. We have annual leave, emergency, and so on. So to request the leave, we just need to select a type of leave, then select the date range and provide the dates. So we have start date of the leave and the end date. Note that this date ranges has validation. The start date must not be less than the present date. So if you enter a date lesser than today, a message box will prompt and will inform us that the date we entered is invalid. Also, the end date must not be lesser than the start date. It will also validate the date once we entered a value. So let's enter valid dates for both of this. So as you can see, the total days are calculated automatically. Let's click this generate request, then click yes. The leave request form will pop up. As you can see, most of the information we need is already on the form. This is one reason why we put it inside our employee form in order for us to retain the employee information once we do a transaction. We just need to click this generate icon button to initialize our form. This will take the values of previous vacations start date and end date, and also assign the status and the status date values. Before you can save this, we need to select from the travel ticket combo box if company will provide ticket or not. So once we selected a value, we can now save it. Then let's close this form and go back to our employee form. As you can see, it's still not in our vacation list, so we need to refresh this form for it to appear. Note that all of these fields, namely the leave type and the date ranges, must not be null or empty, or else we will not be able to generate a request. Once we are done taking all the information, we have sub-functions here in our leave request form that we can use. First is preview button. This is to preview our request so we can double check the details before printing it. Once all is okay, we can directly print it here or use the print button in our form. And we also have a save as PDF button. This will create a PDF file in our desktop. The default file name will be the employee number and the type of leave and which year the leave is requested. The last function we have here is to email the request. This is very useful if the request is done not by the admin officer. So we can notify the in-charge that a request for leave is done via email. So when we click this, it will redirect us to Outlook and will attach a PDF file on that request directly on the email. The last function that we have here is file attachment. We can attach copy of booked ticket in here if we want to. So we will have basis later on. We can click this browse and look for the file. Once the link is attached, we are done. Now we can save this request. Let's move on to the next feature of our employee entry form. We have here the attachment section. This is very similar to the ticket attachment button, but here we have three different buttons with different functions. This browse button is for our profile picture, so it is directly linked to our employee form. These other two buttons are for the attachment. This is where we attach and update the documents of the employees. If we want to add a new file, we can click this add file button. Then we can select what type of file we want to add. Then we look for that file location and save it. Other thing is if we want to update the existing file, let's say we already renewed the QID. We just need to click first the record in our attachment list, then click this update file button. It will open that record. Then again, we will just browse for the link, then attach it. It will automatically link that file and overwrite the old one. Now we already know how to attach the file, but how can we view that file attachment? Actually, we have two ways. The first is here on the record itself. We have this view file button. Just click it and the file will open. And the other way is on our employee form. We just need to double click the record on the attachment list and it will prompt us if we want to view the file or not. Then if you want to view, just click yes. So I guess that's all for now. In our next video, we will talk about the remaining buttons and we will discuss their importance also on why we created separate functions for those transactions. Again, thank you and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.